She came starving, pregnant, and begging for crumbs outside a Millionaire chef's restaurant. But when he let her in, he had no idea he was inviting a dangerous secret worth 50 Nigerian nairas million, a secret a billionaire would kill to hide. What happened next will shock you. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. This story is unbelievable. Rain washed over the glittering entrance of Cole's Manor restaurant, Lagos' most expensive dining spot, where the light shone like gold and the aroma of roasted pepper chicken floated through the air as luxury cars lined up outside. But none of this mattered to the pregnant stranger collapsing against a metal gate. Her clothes were soaked, torn at the shoulder, her barefoot steps shaky, and her swollen belly rising under a dirty oversized shirt as she whispered for help no one cared to give. Customers stepping out of Jeeps and Bentleys wrinkled their noses. Security guards barked at her to move away, and waiters ignored her presence like she was invisible. She pressed a trembling palm against her stomach and murmured to the unborn child, "Just a little longer. Please, please hold on." Her vision blurred. Hunger clawed at her ribs. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. She looked up at a restaurant where a single plate cost more than she had touched in her whole life and begged softly, "Please, leftover food. Anything." The guards laughed and told her to go to a booker down the street if she wanted scraps. But she shook her head because she had walked from Yaba to Victoria Island without understanding how her feet moved, without understanding how she was still alive, and this restaurant was the only place whose lights felt safe. Just as a guard grabbed her arm to drag her away, a deep voice, calm, powerful, and irritated, cut through the noise. "Leave her," Chef Adrian Cole said. The guards froze instantly because no one disobeyed the legendary Millionaire chef, the man who built an empire from one frying pan and now ran the most impossible-to-book restaurant in the country. He stepped out wearing his black chef coat, his tall frame casting a shadow over the girl who struggled to sit up. Adrian studied her face quietly, sunken cheeks, lips pale, bruises peeking from under the sleeves she tried to hide. She was shaking uncontrollably. "When last did you eat?" he asked. She tried to speak, but only air came out. Adrian turned to the guards, his jaw tightening. "Get her inside. Now!" And for the first time in the restaurant's history, a starving stranger was escorted into Cole's Manor. Inside, she stared in disbelief as chandeliers sparkled overhead, marble floors reflected her dirt-covered feet, and wealthy diners paused mid-bite. Adrian ignored the whispers and guided her to a private corner. "Bring warm water. And food. Fresh food," he ordered. His staff exchanged shocked glances. Chef Adrian never gave free food. He never pitted anyone. He believed people valued meals only when they earned them. But something about this girl, this trembling, terrified, pregnant girl who seemed to be fleeing from the world, made something old inside him shift. As he gulped the warm water with shaking hands, Adrian crouched beside her and said, "My name is Adrian. What's yours?" She hesitated for a strange, heavy moment. Then, "Myra, just Myra." He nodded slowly, but her eyes darted to the door every few seconds, like she was scared someone would burst in at any moment. Adrian noticed. He noticed everything. And for reasons he didn't understand yet, he kept watching her long after she finished the first real meal she had eaten in days. Cole's Manor had rules. Strict, unbreakable rules. Set by Adrian Cole himself, and the staff lived in fear of disappointing him because he built his success with discipline sharper than the knives he wielded in his Michelin-rated kitchen. Rule number 1, no free food. It was written on the staff notice board, engraved into the orientation manual, whispered to every new employee because Adrian believed pity destroyed dignity. He had grown up in a world where no one pitied his mother when she starved to feed him, and he swore he'd never become the kind of man who gave help only to feel powerful. So when Myra sat in the velvet booth devouring a plate of steaming jollof rice and grilled fish he personally prepared, the entire kitchen buzzed with disbelief. "Chef cooked for her himself," a sous chef whispered. "For free," another gasped. "Who is she?" a waiter muttered. Adrian ignored them all. He studied the way Myra ate, small bites at first, then desperate ones, then slower, cautious ones as if she feared the food might disappear. Rainwater dripped from her shirt. Her fingers trembled so badly she spilled a little stew on the table. When she apologized, Adrian simply placed a clean napkin in front of her without judgment. But the staff judged plenty. "Chef, are we running a charity now?" one bold kitchen supervisor asked. Adrian turned to him with a calmness that scared even the bravest employees. "Do your job." That was enough. Everyone scattered. Inside, Adrian wrestled with something he hadn't felt in years, an instinct to protect. He didn't know this girl. He didn't know her story. But he recognized a look in her eyes, someone who had been surviving, not living, someone who had been hunted, someone who trusted no one. After she finished eating, she tried to stand, but her knees buckled, and Adrian caught her before she hit the floor. Her breath hitched in panic. I can work," she stammered. "I'll pay for the food. I'll clean. I'll do anything. I just needed something for the baby." Adrian stared at her stomach. She couldn't be more than 7 months along. Too thin for someone carrying life. Too bruised. Too terrified. He hated how familiar her fear felt. He remembered his mother hiding a similar bruise under her wrapper, whispering that everything was fine when it wasn't. "No one is asking you to pay," Adrian said, but Myra shook her head violently. "No, please, don't pity me." Pity, that word again. Adrian understood it more than she realized. So instead of offering comfort, he made a decision that neither of them knew would change both their lives. He stood up, crossed his arms, and said, "Fine, if you want to work. Then work, but you'll do it properly under my rules." Myra blinked in confusion. What do you mean?" "You're hired," he said. "Temporary, until you get back on your feet." The staff behind him gasped again. Adrian ignored them. "You'll stay in the staff quarters. You'll clean the kitchen. You'll eat 3 meals a day. And you'll see a doctor. No arguments." Myra stared at him like she didn't believe people like him existed. "Why? Why are you helping me?" Adrian didn't have an answer he liked, so he gave the only one he could. "Because someone has to." And just like that, the chef who never gave free food broke his own rule, for a stranger who hadn't even told him her last name. Myra followed Adrian into the staff hallway nervously, clutching her hands together as if she expected someone to snatch the offer away. The quarters were clean, modest, and far safer than anywhere she had slept in months. But as Adrian showed her the small room she would stay in, single bed, warm blanket, a little bathroom, she froze at the door, staring at everything like she didn't deserve it. "You can rest," Adrian said. "You're safe here." She didn't step inside. Safe was a word she no longer trusted. Instead, she asked, "Do you need anything from me first?" Adrian frowned. "Like what?" She swallowed. "My ID? Address? Phone number?" Adrian shook his head. "We'll sort that later." Myra's face paled. Later was the one thing she couldn't offer. She had no ID, no phone, no home, no family she could call, no name she dared to give. And Adrian noticed a hesitation. "You have nowhere to go, do you?" he asked. Myra opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Then she whispered, "Please don't send me away." Adrian didn't understand why hearing that made his chest tighten. "I said you can stay," he repeated. But she still didn't move into the room. Her body remained on alert, like a rabbit expecting a trap, and Adrian suddenly wondered if she was running from something darker than poverty. When she finally stepped inside, she didn't remove her shoes or sit. She paced. She kept glancing at the window. She stiffened at every footstep in the hallway. And when a distant siren wailed outside, common in Lagos, her entire body flinched, and she crouched beside the bed as if expecting men to burst in. Adrian watched, stunned. This wasn't normal fear. This was trauma. He tried to give her space, but his instincts, the instincts he had buried for years, woke up. So when she finally sat on the bed and whispered, "Thank you for the food," Adrian nodded and quietly stepped out. The moment he reached the hallway, he called his trusted manager, Keen. "I need you to check something," Adrian said. "About the girl?" "Yes. Don't scare her. Don't question her. Just see if anyone is looking for her." Keen raised an eyebrow. "Chef, you're acting unusual." "Just do it," Adrian snapped. Keen left quickly, knowing better than to argue. Adrian returned to the main kitchen, where the staff buzzed with curiosity. "Chef, who is she?" someone asked. "None of your business," he replied. But it was his business, and something about Myra bothered him more by the minute. Later that night, when Adrian passed by her door, he heard soft, muffled crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just a woman trying desperately not to break. He stood there for a long moment, hand hovering near the door, wanting to knock but not wanting to intrude. Finally, he walked away. But sleep didn't come easily that night, because for the first time in a long time, Adrian Cole, the man with no weakness, felt a dangerous and unfamiliar emotion. Concern. 2 days passed, and Myra adjusted to the restaurant routine with surprising speed. She cleaned the kitchen with quiet dedication, kept her head down, and avoided conversations unless someone directly spoke to her. She never complained, never rested unless told to, and never took more food than she was given, even though Adrian noticed the hunger in her eyes every time she passed the pantry. But the strange part was how she reacted to certain sounds. Footsteps in the hallway made her tense. Male voices made her shrink. And every time a car honked sharply outside, she placed a protective hand over her belly. Adrian watched everything silently. He had built his life by reading people, by understanding movements, expressions, details others ignored. And Myra's fear wasn't the fear of a homeless girl. It was a fear of someone being hunted. On the evening of the second day, as she scrubbed a tray behind the counter, a sudden police siren wailed outside. It was distant but loud enough to echo through the restaurant walls. Myra didn't freeze. She didn't flinch. She collapsed. Her knees hit the floor, her breath itched painfully, and she scrambled under the stainless steel counter in pure panic, her arms wrapped around her stomach as she whispered, "Please, not again, not again." Customers turned their heads. Staff paused. Adrian rushed over immediately. "Myra," he called. Her eyes didn't register his presence. She was somewhere else, somewhere terrifying. Adrian crouched and gently touched her shoulder. She jerked like she had been struck. "It's just a siren," he said calmly. "Nothing is happening." She shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. "They'll find me. They'll take him. They'll take him." "Who?" Adrian asked, confusion and anger swirling inside him. She pressed her palm to her belly again. Adrian understood instantly. Not him as in a man. Him as in the baby. The staff stayed in stunned silence. Adrian shot them a warning glare, and they scattered back to work. When Myra finally calmed down enough to breathe normally, Adrian helped her up and led her to the back room. She apologized repeatedly, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I don't cause trouble. I didn't mean—" "Stop apologizing," Adrian said firmly. She looked at him like he had spoken a foreign language. Adrian handed her a glass of water and waited, giving her space to speak. But she didn't. She kept everything locked inside. And the more she hid, the more certain Adrian became. Something serious was going on. That night, when everyone left, he called Keen again. "Anything." Keen hesitated. "Not much. But there's something odd, Chef. Some wealthy man issued private inquiries about a missing pregnant girl fitting her description." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Wealthy man? Name?" "Still checking. But the reward is offering. It's huge." "How huge?" 50 million. Adrian froze. No one hunted a woman like that for nothing. And suddenly, Myra's panic made perfect sense. Someone dangerous wanted her back. Badly. Eek. The next morning, Adrian found Myra sitting beside the back door before sunrise, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees despite her swollen belly. She wasn't resting. She was watching the gate like she expected an attack. "Did you sleep at all?" Adrian asked. Myra flinched. She hadn't heard him approach. She shook her head. "I didn't want to be a problem." Adrian exhaled slowly. The girl was exhausted, terrified, alone, and still trying to behave so she wouldn't be thrown out. He crouched beside her. "Myra, listen to me carefully. No one is throwing you out." She didn't believe him. He could see it in her eyes. So he changed his approach. "If you feel safer, I can put it in writing." That got her attention. "Writing?" "A contract," he said. "You stay here. You work simple duties. You get shelter, food, medical care. In return, you don't run off at night or starve yourself or collapse in my kitchen again. And I protect you while you're here. Myra looked like she had never heard anything that generous in her life. Protect me, she whispered. From who? Adrian watched her carefully. She swallowed hard. Too hard. Whoever you're running from, he said. Her lips parted. Fear flickered. Then she quickly shook her head. I'm not running. Myra. His tone was firm. Not angry. Certain. Someone is looking for you. Someone powerful. And if they show up here, I need to know what I'm dealing with. She froze. Her throat tightened. Her hands trembled. For a moment, it looked like she would finally tell him everything. Then she pulled back. I can't, she whispered. Not yet. Adrian didn't push. Fine. Then sign the contract. You stay. You're safe. For now, that's enough. He drafted a simple handwritten agreement. Myra stared at the pen for a long time before taking it. Her hand shook as she signed Myra A. Adrian noticed she refused to write her full name. Another red flag. You will see a doctor today, Adrian said. No arguments. Myra nodded immediately. She would have agreed to anything as long as he didn't send her away. But as she handed him the signed paper, she whispered something that chilled him more than anything she had confessed so far. If they find me, please don't let them take my baby. Adrian swallowed hard. Who are they? Myra. She looked away, her voice barely a breath. People who don't deserve him. Her eyes filled with tears. People who take what doesn't belong to them. Adrian tightened his grip around the contract. At that moment, he silently vowed something he hadn't vowed in years. No matter what was coming, no matter who came knocking, he would not let this girl fall into the hands of whoever had broken her. She had stepped into his restaurant begging for crumbs, but fate had placed her in the home of the one man who would burn the whole city down before letting anyone harm her again. Myra worked quietly, moving around the kitchen with slow, careful steps, her belly leading her like a fragile shield, her eyes darting around as though the walls themselves whispered danger. Adrian watched her from the past, pretending to inspect a dish, but really studying her movements. She moved like someone used to being hurt, used to being shouted at, used to hiding pain so deeply that even breathing looked like a risk. That morning, while the rest of the staff prepared for lunch service, Myra reached for a heavy pan on the top shelf. She stretched, tiptoed, and the sleeve of her oversized shirt rolled down just enough for Adrian to see the dark purplish bruise around her upper arm, finger-shaped, fresh, violent. She froze when she saw him staring. In one swift motion, she yanked her sleeve back down, stepping away as if expecting him to hit her. I'm fine, she whispered quickly, too quickly, eyes wide with panic. Adrian walked toward her slowly, hands visible, voice calm. Myra, who did that? No one, she blurted. It's nothing. I'm clumsy. That's not a clumsy bruise. Myra's breathing quickened. Her free hand instinctively moved to her stomach, shielding the baby. She backed up until she hit the counter. I didn't steal anything, she whispered suddenly. I didn't do anything wrong. I swear I didn't. Please don't throw me out. Adrian felt something sharp twist inside him. Someone had convinced her that pain was her fault, that suffering was something she deserved. I'm not throwing you out, he said firmly. I'm just asking who hurt you. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only fear. So much fear. She turned away, pretending to wash dishes, scrubbing so hard that her knuckles whitened. The water splashed. Her breathing shook, and Adrian knew pressing too hard would shut her down completely. If you ever want to talk, he said finally, I'll listen. No judgments. No pressure. She continued scrubbing. He walked away, but the bruise stayed burned into his mind like a warning. Later that day, during the doctor's visit, the female doctor raised an eyebrow when she saw the marks on Myra's arms, ribs, and back. Myra lied smoothly, too smoothly, saying she fell or bumped into things or that pregnancy made her clumsy. The doctor exchanged a worried look with Adrian. Outside, as they left the clinic, Myra whispered, I don't need pity. Adrian responded quietly, I don't pity you, Myra. I see you. That stopped her. Her eyes softened for the first time since meeting him. Someone seeing her, not as a burden, not as a problem, not as an inconvenience, was almost too much for her to handle. But the peace didn't last long. When a black-tinted SUV drove past the clinic, Myra's entire body stiffened. Her hand clutched Adrian's sleeve. Her eyes filled with terror. Adrian followed her gaze. The SUV slowed, watched, then drove off. Myra trembled violently. "They are close," she whispered. "Please, don't let them find me." Adrian placed a firm hand on her shoulder and made a silent promise he wasn't sure he could keep. "They won't. Not while you're here." But deep down, he knew trouble was drawing nearer, closer than either of them realized. The hospital corridors were quiet, filled with the smell of antiseptic and soft murmurs of patients and nurses moving around. When the doctor motioned for Adrian to step aside privately while Myra waited on a bench, both hands resting protectively on her belly, the doctor's tone was cautious. "Chef Adrian, have you known her long?" 3 days, he replied honestly. "Why?" The doctor sighed. "Her condition is complicated. She's severely underweight. She's dangerously stressed. Her blood pressure is unstable. She's showing signs of trauma. And the pregnancy," Adrian tensed. "Is the baby in danger?" "No," the doctor said. "Quite the opposite. The baby is growing perfectly. Strong heartbeat. Very healthy. In fact, abnormally healthy for the mother's condition." Adrian frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning," the doctor said carefully, "this child is important to someone. Someone who ensured she had excellent medical care earlier in the pregnancy. High-quality supplements. Private scans. Things homeless women don't have access to." Adrian's breath stilled. Someone wealthy. Someone who could afford the best. Someone who was obsessed with the baby, not the mother. "Doctor," Adrian said slowly, "what are you trying to tell me?" "Someone has been investing in this pregnancy," she replied, lowering her voice. "And if she's running, she may be running from whoever wanted the child, not her." Adrian stared at the closed door separating him from Myra. The bruise, the fear, the panic at sirens, the black SUV, the private inquiries Keene mentioned. It all formed a chilling picture. When they returned to the restaurant, Myra was quieter than usual, staring at nothing as if reliving an old nightmare. That evening, when she cleaned the prep table, Adrian approached her. "Myra," he said softly, "has anyone ever tried to take your baby from you?" She froze. Her fingers tightened around the cloth. Her breath caught. She didn't answer, but the terror in her eyes said everything. Adrian moved closer. "If you want to tell me the truth, I'm here." "Truth won't help," she whispered. "Truth can't stop him." "Him, not them. One person. One powerful man." Adrian's instincts sharpened. "Who is he?" She shook her head violently. "If you know his name, he'll come. If he knows I'm here, he'll destroy everything around me to get to him." Her palm grazed her belly. Adrian said nothing more. He didn't push, but his resolve hardened. He needed answers. That night, after Myra was asleep, Adrian called Keene. "Find out which wealthy men in this city are searching for a missing pregnant woman," he said. Quietly. No mistakes. Keene hesitated. "Chef, this could get dangerous." "It's already dangerous," Adrian replied. As Adrian ended the call, he looked at Myra's closed door, and a realization settled deep inside him. This wasn't just a woman in trouble. This was a woman hiding from the kind of evil that could only grow from unimaginable wealth, power, and obsession. And the baby she carried was the center of it all. The next morning, Adrian stood in his office reviewing menus when Keene burst through the door, breathless, holding his phone like it was on fire. "Chef, you need to see this." Adrian took the phone. What he saw made his heart stand still. A news headline flashing across the screen. Billionaire business tycoon Damien Okoro offers 50 Nigerian Nairas million reward for missing pregnant woman. Beneath it was Myra's photo. Not a blurry one. Not a random shot. A professional picture taken inside a mansion. Her hair done. Her clothes clean. Her eyes hopeful. Before whatever nightmare she escaped turned her into the fragile woman Adrian now knew. "He's lying," Keene said quickly. "The report claims she's mentally unstable and wandered off from his charity foundation. He's painting himself as a savior trying to find and help her." Adrian's jaw clenched. Call the reporter. He ordered. See if anyone knows her real identity. Keen swallowed. Chef, Damien Okoro isn't a man you go digging into. People who ask questions about him disappear. I'm not people, Adrian said coldly. He marched to the kitchen, and the staff instantly sensed something shifting in the air. He scanned the room. Where's Myra? In the pantry, a sous chef replied. Adrian went there, heart pounding. He found her packing bags of rice, unaware of the storm brewing outside. Myra. She turned. One look at his face and her smile vanished. What happened? Adrian handed her the phone silently. Her eyes fell on the picture. Her blood drained. Her hand went to her stomach as if an unborn child could feel the danger vibrating through her body. No, she whispered, shaking her head. No, no, no. He found me. She stumbled back until her spine hit the shelf. Adrian steadied her. Tell me the truth, he said quietly but firmly. Who is Damien Okoro to you? Tears welled in her eyes, raw, terrified, defeated tears. He's not my husband, she whispered. Not my family, not my friend. Her voice cracked. He's the devil who owns my life. Adrian swallowed. Why is he searching for you? Her answer shattered the last piece of peace he had left. Because he wants my baby. And Damien Okoro always gets what he wants, no matter who he destroys. Adrian stared at her trembling shoulders, at the fear poisoning her strength. And in that moment, something dark and dangerous awakened inside him, a determination forged in the fire of his childhood, a promise he had made to himself long ago. No one would ever hurt a helpless woman in his presence again. No billionaire, no tyrant, no monster. He won't touch you, Adrian said. Not while you're here. Myra shook her head. You don't know him. He's too powerful. Adrian lifted her chin slightly. Then he picked the wrong chef to challenge. Myra sat in Adrian's office, knees pulled close despite her belly, hands shaking on her lap, finally ready to reveal the truth she had been hiding. Her voice trembled as she began. I was never supposed to be near that family. I was just a maid, cleaning rooms, serving drinks, washing clothes. She wiped her tears. Damien Okoro didn't even know my name for the first year I worked in his mansion. But his son, Kelvin, he noticed me. Adrian watched her carefully, saying nothing, letting her break open slowly. It happened at a party, she whispered. I was cleaning the upstairs hallway. Kelvin was drunk, very drunk. He grabbed my arm and pulled me inside one of the guest rooms. I tried to leave. I swear I tried, but he was stronger. He said it wouldn't matter because girls like me never say no to boys like him. Adrian's fist tightened under the desk. Myra continued, voice cracking. When I found out I was pregnant, I kept quiet. I planned to leave quietly and start over somewhere else. But someone told Damien. Her breathing grew shallow. He called me into his office. He offered me money to disappear. I refused. Adrian frowned. Why refuse? You could have escaped. Myra shook her head violently. You don't understand. Damien didn't want me to disappear. He wanted the baby. He said a child from his son's bloodline couldn't be raised by a nobody housemaid with no pedigree. He wanted the baby for his legacy, but he didn't want me. Adrian felt sick. So you ran. I tried, she whispered, but Damien locked me in a private room in the mansion. He said when the baby was born, he'd take him and I'd be sent away quietly, somewhere far, somewhere I'd never see him again. Adrian's blood boiled. How did you escape? Myra looked down, tears splashing on her palms. A god helped me. He was kind. He risked everything. He smuggled me out through the staff gate at night. I walked for hours, hid in abandoned buildings, slept in churches, avoided hospitals because Damien has eyes everywhere. Why not go to the police? Adrian asked. Myra laughed brokenly. Police? Damien has them in his pocket. Everyone knows it. Even the guards said going to the police would get me dragged back faster. Adrian leaned forward. And Kelvin? Does he know? He doesn't care, Myra whispered. He told me the baby wasn't his problem, that his father would take responsibility. The disgust on Adrian's face was unmistakable. "You're not going back," he said. Myra looked up at him, eyes red. "What if he comes here? What if he threatens you? Your staff? Your restaurant?" Adrian's jaw hardened. "Then he'll learn something about me he doesn't know." He stood. Myra watched him with confusion. "What are you doing?" "Preparing," Adrian said, "because if Damien Okoro wants a war, then he just walked into one." That night, the restaurant felt different. The lights seemed dimmer, the air heavier, as though danger had entered the building long before anyone noticed. Adrian stood alone in the main hall after closing, staring at the city skyline through the glass windows. The truth settled like iron in his chest. Protecting Myra meant going against a billionaire who had the power to crush businesses and careers and erase people from existence. But he didn't care. He had seen fear in Myra's eyes, the kind of fear his own mother once carried. Memories he buried resurfaced. His father dying early, his mother working 3 jobs, men threatening her, landlord shouting. The night she cried quietly when she thought he was asleep. Adrian had sworn he would never allow anyone to feel helpless under his watch. And today, that promise finally meant something. When he turned around, he saw Myra hovering silently near the door, her hand resting on her stomach. "You didn't eat dinner," she said softly. Adrian smirked weakly. "I've had a long day." Myra approached slowly, every step careful, uncertain if she were welcome. "It's my fault," she whispered. "Damien found me. He always finds me. You don't need to help me anymore. I can leave tonight." "Leave," Adrian repeated. "And go where?" "Anywhere," she whispered. "I don't want you getting hurt because of me." Adrian walked closer until they stood inches apart. "Listen to me," he said, voice low, firm, unshakable. "You are not leaving. Not while you're carrying that child. Not while you're in danger. Not while I can do something about it." Myra's lips trembled. "Why? You don't even know me." "I don't have to know you to do what's right," he said. She exhaled shakily, tears forming. "Damien won't stop. Neither will I. He'll destroy your restaurant. Then I'll build another. He'll try to ruin your name. He can try." Myra shook her head, overwhelmed. Adrian continued, "Myra, I'm not helping you out of pity. I'm helping you because no one protected my mother when she needed it. And I refuse to let history repeat itself if I can change it, even for one person." Her tears finally fell. She covered her mouth with her hand, trying to hold herself together. Adrian gently placed a hand on her shoulder. She flinched at first, then slowly relaxed. "For now," he said, "you and your baby are safe here. Damien will not touch you." Myra nodded, though fear still lingered in her eyes. Adrian stepped back, giving her space. "Get some sleep," he said. "Tomorrow, we plan." As she walked toward the hallway, she paused and turned. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Adrian nodded. When she disappeared into her room, he locked the restaurant doors, reinforced the back entrance, and stood guard much longer than necessary. Because for the first time in years, the chef who held the world at arm's length had finally chosen something, someone to fight for, and he wasn't turning back. The rain started around midnight, soft at first, then angry, pounding the restaurant roof like fists demanding entry. The city outside was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence Lagos never had unless trouble was looming in the dark. Adrian sat alone in his office reviewing security camera feeds when he noticed something strange. A black SUV parked across the street with its headlights off. No movement, no driver visible, no reason to be there. His chest tightened. He stood, walked into the kitchen, and found 2 junior chefs still cleaning. "Pack up," he ordered. "Go home. Now." They obeyed instantly, confused but too afraid to question him. As they left through the side exit, Adrian double-checked the locks and turned off all lights except one dim bulb above the prep area. He walked toward Myra's room and listened. She was asleep, finally, her soft breathing barely audible. He didn't want to wake her. Not tonight. Let her rest. She had suffered enough. He returned to the kitchen. Then he heard it, a faint metal scrape at the back door. Not the wind, not an animal, a lockpick, another scrape, then a soft click. Adrian's heartbeat slowed, not from fear but from a cold, calculated anger. Someone was entering his territory. Someone thought they could breach his space and take what he had promised to protect. The door opened slowly. 3 men slipped inside, dressed in black, boots silent, each one armed. Their movements were trained, precise, professional. These were not petty criminals. These were private security agents. Damien's men. Adrian didn't hesitate. He grabbed a heavy cast-iron frying pan from the counter, stepped behind a support pillar, and waited. The men spread out, scanning the dim kitchen with flashlights. "Search everywhere," one whispered. "The girl is here. Boss wants her alive." Adrian tightened his grip. Alive. Not safe. Not unharmed. Just alive enough to take the baby. The man nearest to him passed too close. Close enough for Adrian to see the gleam of a tranquilizer gun tucked in his belt. The very thing they'd use on Myra. Adrian stepped out. The pan swung. A sickening crack echoed. The man dropped instantly. The other 2 spun around. "Someone's here." Adrian didn't retreat. He grabbed a second pan and hurled it across the room, years of knife-throwing precision turning a kitchen tool into a weapon. It hit the second man's wrist, making him drop his gun. Adrian charged, shoulder slamming into him, both crashing into a stainless steel table. The third man pulled out a pistol. Adrian ducked behind the counter as the bullet ricocheted off the metal. Myra jolted awake in her room, heart pounding. She heard voices, shouts, a gunshot. She froze for a second, but only a second, before stumbling out of bed and into the hallway. Meanwhile, Adrian grabbed a fire extinguisher and yanked the pin out. The third man approached cautiously. Adrian leapt out, blasting a cloud of white chemicals into his eyes. The man screamed, blinded, dropping the gun. Adrian kicked it across the floor. The second man, groaning, tried to get up. Adrian stepped on his chest, pinning him down. "Who sent you?" he growled, though he already knew. "You know who." The man spat. "Hand over the girl. You can't fight him." "Watch me," Adrian said, raising his fist, when suddenly a small hand grabbed his arm. "Adrian," Myra whispered. She stood barefoot in the doorway, trembling, wearing an oversized shirt, fear etched across her face. He turned instantly. "You shouldn't be here." "They came for me," she whispered. "This is my fault." "This is not your fault," he said firmly. The man on the ground laughed bitterly. "He will kill both of you for this." Adrian pressed harder on his chest. "Tell Damien," he said calmly. "If he wants her, he'll have to walk over my dead body." The man smirked. "He plans to." Sirens blared suddenly, loud, piercing, coming from the street. The intruders scrambled to escape. The blinded one stumbled outside. The others followed. Adrian didn't chase them. He pulled Myra behind him, shielding her until the SUV screeched away into the stormy night. Only after the police sirens grew distant did Adrian finally exhale. Myra grabbed his arm tightly, shaking uncontrollably. Adrian wrapped an arm around her. "You're safe," he whispered. But both of them knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The next morning, Lagos woke to a trending video, one recorded by a nosy customer days earlier but only posted now, right when tension inside Cole's Manor was reaching its peak. The clip was only 40 seconds long, but it was enough to ignite the entire internet. It showed Myra washing dishes in her oversized shirt, her pregnant belly clearly visible, moving nervously as customers ate in the background. The caption read, "Why is a heavily pregnant homeless girl working like a slave in Lagos' most expensive restaurant? Chef Adrian, explain." The comment section exploded with outrage. Is this exploitation? Why isn't she resting? Is the restaurant using pity labor? Is she even safe there? Influencers reposted. News blogs reposted. Within hours, reporters flooded the street outside Cole's Manor, cameras flashing, microphones waving, eager to twist any narrative they could turn viral. Meanwhile, Myra sat on a crate in the storage room, hands wrapped around a mug of warm tea, watching the video play on Adrian's phone. Her face turned pale. They are filming me now, she whispered. Everywhere. Adrian rubbed his forehead. This was before. Someone just decided to upload it now. But Damien will see it. I know. Myra's breathing grew fast. He'll know exactly where I am. I know, Adrian repeated. Keen rushed into the room. Chef, the press is outside. They want a statement. Some are claiming you're keeping her here against her will. Myra flinched. What? No, I chose to stay. I begged you to let me work. Reporters don't care about truth, Adrian said bitterly. They care about clicks. Myra stood up, shaking. Adrian, if the world knows I'm here, Damien will come. He'll send more men. Stop, Adrian said, placing a hand on her shoulder. Breathe. You're safe. Her eyes filled with tears. He's too powerful. So? I'm not powerless. Myra shook her head. He will ruin you. Adrian met her eyes. Let him try. Outside, shouting grew louder. Cameras turned toward the gate as a sleek sedan pulled up. A well-known journalist, Adiz Hume, stepped out, one of the most feared investigative reporters in Nigeria. She walked straight to the cameras and announced, "We have exclusive updates regarding the pregnant girl in Chef Adrian's restaurant." Myra gasped. No. Adrian's jaw tightened. Stay here, he ordered. Don't move. He walked out through the back exit and came around the building, stepping directly into the spotlight. Microphones shot forward immediately. Chef, who is the girl? Why is she working? Is she undocumented? Is she safe? Did you hire her illegally? Is she your mistress? Adrian raised a hand sharply. Silence fell. His voice was calm but deadly. Her name is Myra. She is under my protection. She is not a slave. She is not mistreated. And she is not your headline. Adiz stepped closer. Chef Adrian. Sources claim she may be the missing pregnant woman billionaire Damien Okoro is searching for. Is she connected to him? The world seemed to freeze. Adrian's expression didn't change. I said no more questions. Adiz smirked, sensing she struck gold. Chef, if Damien Okoro appears here, then he will deal with me. Reporters gasped. The clip spread online instantly. Comments exploded. Memes formed. Overnight, Adrian Cole became two things simultaneously. A hero to some, a villain to others. Inside the kitchen, Myra watched the live stream, tears streaming silently down her face. Heavy footsteps approached. Adrian returned. Myra stood. You shouldn't have said anything, she whispered. You shouldn't have defended me. Now he'll want to destroy you too. Adrian sighed. Myra, I'm already in this. Leaving you alone now would be the real mistake. She covered her face, overwhelmed. I never wanted this. I only wanted safety. Adrian's voice softened. And you have it, no matter what the world thinks. But as they stood in the dim kitchen, a new reality settled in. The world now knew Myra existed. Damien knew where to look, and the fight had officially gone public. Within 48 hours, Cole's manor transformed from a restaurant into a media battleground. Protesters gathered outside with signs. Supporters defended Adrian. Critics accused him of hiding a kidnapped woman. Hashtags trended. The noise grew louder by the hour. But the loudest blow came when a blogger dug up Adrian's childhood story. Suddenly, headlines everywhere read, "The truth about Chef Adrian Cole, the boy who starved but rose to fame." Articles spread like wildfire. Adrian grew up in poverty, raised by a single mother who worked day and night. Neighbors confirmed he often begged for scraps. He once swore he'd never let anyone go hungry again. Old photos of Adrian as a skinny boy with worn clothes surfaced online. Another article read, "His father died early. His mother was humiliated by powerful men." Myra sat on the edge of the staff bed reading the articles on her phone. Tears fell silently, not because Adrian's past hurt her, but because she finally understood something. Adrian didn't help her because she was special. He helped because he knew her pain, because he had lived it. When Adrian entered the room quietly, Myra quickly wiped her tears, but he noticed. "You saw the articles," he said. She nodded. "I didn't know you, went through so much. Adrian shrugged like it didn't matter. Everyone goes through something. Not like that, she whispered. He looked away. My mother worked herself to the bone. She sacrificed everything for me, and no one protected her. No one cared. Myra listened, breath still. The men who rented our apartment harassed her, Adrian continued. When she couldn't pay rent on time, they threatened to throw us out. Sometimes he stopped. Myra waited but didn't push. I learned that the world doesn't help the weak, Adrian said. So I promised myself, if I ever became strong, I'd protect whoever I could, even if it's just one person. Myra's eyes softened. Is that why you're helping me? Adrian hesitated. His voice lowered. Partly. And the other part, she asked quietly. Adrian met her eyes. Something unspoken passed between them. Something tender. Something dangerous. He cleared his throat. You remind me of Hare, he admitted. Not in appearance. In spirit. In fear. In how hard you try to survive even when the world tries to break you. Myra's lips trembled. I'm not strong, she whispered. You're stronger than you know, Adrian replied. They stood in silence for a moment before Keen barged into the room. Chef, we have a problem. Adrian sighed. Another reporter. Worse, Keen said. Damien Okoro just released a press statement demanding Myra's immediate return. He claims she's mentally unstable and a danger to herself. Myra gasped. No, he's turning the whole world against me. Adrian clenched his jaw. Let him talk. Chef, Keen added nervously. There's more? Damien requested police intervention. Myra grabbed Adrian's arm in panic. Police? No. Adrian, no. They'll drag me back. They'll force me into a car. Myra, breathe. But she couldn't. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He'll win. He always wins. No one fights him. No one beats him. He owns everything. Adrian stepped closer and gently held her shoulders. He doesn't own me. You don't understand, she cried. He doesn't stop until he gets what he wants. Adrian's voice deepened. Neither do I. Myra stared at him, at the calm in his eyes, at the confidence she never had, at the strength she had never known. And for the first time since she fled Damien's mansion, she felt something she thought she lost forever. Hope. 3 days after the viral storm began, Cole's Manor went silent at noon. Staff members froze mid-serve. Customers lowered their forks. Traffic outside paused. A convoy of black luxury SUVs rolled to a stop in front of the restaurant. Doors opened. Bodyguards in black suits stepped out first, forming a wall. Then the man himself appeared, Damien Okoro. Tall, immaculate, eyes cold like steel sharpened by power. He adjusted his gold cufflinks, smirked, and walked toward the entrance as though the world belonged to him. Adrian stepped outside before he could enter. They stopped face to face, the tension thick enough to choke the air. Cameras recorded everything. Damien studied Adrian with amused superiority. Chef Cole, he said smoothly, you created quite the show. Adrian didn't blink. You're not welcome here. Damien chuckled. You're bold. I admire that. But let's not pretend you're in control. He gestured, and one of his guards opened a sleek briefcase. Inside it, neat stacks of cash and documents. 200 million, Damien said. Cash and assets. All yours. Just hand over the girl. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Even Adrian's staff looked shaken. Myra, hiding behind the curtains inside, covered her mouth in horror. Damien continued confidently. She's mine, Cole. She worked in my house. She is mentally unstable and a danger to my family. You're harboring a runaway. Adrian stepped forward. She isn't your property. Everything in my world is my property, Damien snapped. And if you refuse my offer, I will make you regret the day you ever touched my belongings. Adrian's jaw clenched. She's not your belonging, and I don't sell people. Damien's smile vanished. You think this is a game? Do you know who I am? Adrian didn't flinch. A man who's used to everyone bowing. I'm not one of them. Reporters exploded with noise. Damien's face twisted with anger. Careful, Chef, he hissed. "I can destroy you faster than you can blink." Adrian leaned in slightly. "Try." The word hung in the air like a blade. Damien's eyes narrowed. He snapped his fingers. His men stepped forward, ready to storm the restaurant, but police cars appeared suddenly, blocking the path. The officers stepped out, neutral, observing, waiting. Damien glared but stepped back. "Fine," he said coldly. "Enjoy your little victory. It won't last." He pointed at Adrian. "By tomorrow, your doors will be shut. Your license is gone. Your fortune reduced to ashes." Then he turned away, sliding into his SUV like a king returning to his throne. The convoy drove off. Adrian stood still, absorbing the threat he knew wasn't empty. Inside the restaurant, Myra sank to her knees, shaking uncontrollably. Damien had found her. He had challenged Adrian publicly, and now the war had truly begun. Damien kept his promise. The very next morning, the chaos began. First came the tax officials, 8 of them, storming through the restaurant doors with clipboards, files, and false authority. They claimed Cole's Manor was overdue on taxes from 3 years ago. A lie, but a powerful one. 30 minutes later, health inspectors arrived, pretending they had received anonymous reports of expired food and unsafe conditions. Adrian protested, showed receipts, argued, but none of it mattered. They were bought, every single one. By noon, police officers entered with a court order, suspiciously fast, declaring the restaurant temporarily closed pending investigation. Customers were ushered out. Staff panicked. Reporters circled like vultures. And in the middle of the dining hall, Adrian stood still. Not broken, not shaken, but furious. Myra, watching everything from the kitchen doorway, felt guilt stabbing her heart like knives. She walked toward Adrian slowly, trembling. "This is because of me," she whispered. "If I leave, he'll stop. Please let me go." "No," Adrian said immediately. "You didn't do this." "He wants a baby," she cried. "He'll destroy anyone who stands in his way. I can't let him destroy you." Adrian turned to her. "You think I care about a building? About money? I can rebuild 20 restaurants. But your name, your reputation, means nothing if I can't protect someone in danger." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I never wanted to ruin your life." Adrian stepped closer. "You didn't ruin anything. Damien did." Keen approached nervously. "Chef, they are forcing us to lock the doors." Adrian nodded once. "Let them." Myra covered her face with both hands, shaking uncontrollably. Adrian pulled her gently into the hallway. "Look at me," he said softly. "She didn't. She couldn't. Look at me, Myra." She lifted her head, eyes red, swollen, terrified. Adrian held her gaze. "Listen carefully. If I walk away now, Damien wins. If you walk away now, he wins. If you give up, he wins." Her lips trembled. "But it's too powerful." "And I'm too stubborn," Adrian said with a faint smirk. She actually let out a weak laugh through her tears. Adrian continued, "We're not done. Not even close. He thinks shutting down my restaurant will intimidate me. He thinks he can scare you into running back to him." Myra looked down. "Maybe running is all I'm good at." Adrian touched her chin gently, lifting it. "You survived him. That's not weakness. That's strength." She swallowed hard. "What do we do now?" Adrian thought for a moment. "We fight back." "How?" "By staying alive, by staying hidden, and by not giving him what he wants." Before Myra could respond, an officer approached. "Chef Cole, we need everyone to exit the premises. The building is officially sealed." Adrian nodded slowly. He grabbed Myra's bag, slung it over his shoulder, and took her hand. "Come on." She followed him out into the sunlight, surrounded by reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing, people speculating. But Adrian shielded her with his body as they walked through the chaos. They reached his car. Myra hesitated. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere he can't touch you," Adrian said. "Somewhere he won't think to look." As the police sealed the doors behind them and Damien's victory echoed through the city, Adrian started the engine. And with Myra trembling beside him but refusing to give up, the real war began. Not in the streets, not in the media, but in the quiet, fierce space between survival and hope. The safe house Adrian chose was a shuttered bakery he once owned before Cole's Manor became famous, a forgotten building tucked behind a row of warehouses, quiet enough to hide Myra but close enough for him to reach quickly. For 3 days they stayed there, sleeping in shifts, waiting for news, watching the outside world swirl with rumors and threats. Myra spent most of her time lying on the old couch, rubbing her belly, whispering to her unborn child, trying to convince herself that she was safe, even though every distant car engine made her flinch. Adrian cooked simple meals on a small portable stove, bringing her warm pepper soup, checking her temperature, ensuring she took her vitamins. But even with all the precautions, he could see the stress wearing her down. Her eyes had dark circles. Her breaths were shallow. She'd tense at the slightest noise. Try to rest, he told her that evening, rain hammering the tin roof above them. Myra shook her head weakly. I can't. If I sleep, I'll dream of him. Adrian sat beside her. He's not here. Not yet, she whispered. They stayed like that for several minutes until a sharp cramp twisted through her abdomen. Myra gasped, clutching her stomach. Adrian, something's wrong. He moved instantly. What is it? I don't know, she cried. It hurts. It hurts a lot. Adrian knelt in front of her. Is it contractions? Myra, how far apart? But she was breathing too quickly to answer. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Her fingers dug into the couch cushions. The rain outside intensified. Thunder cracked. Adrian grabbed his keys. We're going to the hospital. No, she screamed. Damien will find me there. You need help. Adrian, please, she begged, clutching the collar of his shirt. Anywhere but a hospital. He'll take the baby. He'll take him. Adrian froze. She was right. The hospitals were the first place Damien would monitor. He cursed it under his breath. Okay, he said. Okay, no hospitals. We'll figure it out. Another contraction hit. Harder, Myra cried out. Adrian glanced around the room. No medical equipment. No midwife. No safe option. And the roads outside were blocked. He saw the shadows moving through the rain, figures lingering suspiciously close. Damien's men were searching again. Adrian realized the ugly truth. Myra was going into labor here. Now, in a rundown bakery in the middle of a thunderstorm, with danger closing in like a tightening fist. Myra, he said, steadying her breathing, look at me. You're going to be fine. Your baby is going to be fine. I'm right here. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. He spread blankets on the table, switched on the emergency light, and boiled water in the kettle. He washed his hands, recalling the emergency childbirth videos he had watched the night the attacks happened, just in case. He never imagined he'd need them so soon. The contractions came faster, stronger. Myra screamed, gripping the table. Adrian, I can't. Yes, you can, he said firmly. You survived worse. You can do this. The rain echoed like drums. Lightning flashed. Outside, a car engine slowed near the warehouse. Adrian's eyes sharpened, but he couldn't leave her. Not now. Not when the baby was crowning. Myra, push, he commanded. Push now. She screamed again. Sweat poured down her face. She pushed with every ounce of strength left in her battered body. Minutes felt like hours. Adrian worked quickly, carefully, refusing to let panic touch him. And then, a cry. A high, sharp, miraculous cry. Adrian caught the baby, wrapped him in a clean towel, and placed him on Myra's chest. It's a boy, he breathed. Myra sobbed, clutching the child. My baby, my baby. Adrian's eyes softened, then hardened instantly at the sound outside. Doors slamming, men shouting. Damien's men had followed them. They were seconds away. Adrian stepped to the door, locked it, and grabbed a metal rod. Stay with your son, he whispered to Myra. No matter what happens, you don't let go. Myra held her baby tightly, fear and love battling in her eyes. Adrian stood in front of them, every muscle ready. Because tonight, he wasn't just a chef. He wasn't just a protector. He was a war between a mother and the monster trying to steal her child. And he would die before letting anyone pass him. They didn't break in that night. Damien's men circled the area, searched nearby buildings, flashlights through cracks, but the thunderstorm hit the bakery well. Adrian stayed awake until dawn, gripping the metal rod with white knuckles, listening for danger. Only when he was certain the men were gone did he finally sit down beside Myra. She looked exhausted, half asleep, cradling her newborn son with trembling arms. "He's beautiful," Adrian whispered. Myra smiled weakly. "He looks like me." Adrian didn't understand the significance of that statement until the next day. They moved to another safe location, an apartment above a close friend's mechanic workshop. Keen arrived with urgent news. "Chef, you need to see this." He handed Adrian a printed email, anonymous, untraceable. The message was short but deadly. "If you want leverage against Damien Okoro, get a DNA test. The truth will protect her." Adrian frowned. "We already know the father is Kelvin, his son." Myra froze. "No," she whispered. Keen hesitated. "Chef, there's more." He pulled out a file, medical report stolen from Damien's private clinic. Myra covered her mouth as she recognized the logo. Keen handed Adrian the final page. A paternity test. Adrian read it once, twice, 3 times. His blood went cold. "This can't be right," he whispered. Myra's eyes filled with horror. "Adrian, what does it say?" He swallowed hard and looked at her gently. "Myra, the baby, he isn't Kelvin's." Myra blinked rapidly, confused. "Then who?" Her voice cracked before she could finish. Adrian handed her the document with shaking hands. Myra read the result, and the truth hit her like a physical blow. Father of the fetus, Damien Okoro. Myra staggered backward as though the ground crumbled beneath her feet. "No, no, no," she screamed. "This is a lie. A lie." Adrian grabbed her shoulders. "Myra, he never touched me," she cried. "I swear, he never." But then memories flooded back. The night Kelvin assaulted her. The faint dizziness she felt earlier. The drink Damien handed her before she developed severe nausea. The way Damien insisted she stay in the mansion afterward. The way she woke up once with her clothes slightly disarranged, thinking she imagined it. She had blamed Kelvin for everything, but the monster was Damien all along. Myra collapsed, sobbing in Adrian's arms. "He drugged me," she whispered. "He drugged me and Adrian held her tightly, his heart shattering with fury. "Myra, listen to me," he said firmly. "This isn't your shame. It's his crime." She buried her face in his chest, shaking violently. Adrian continued. "This DNA test changes everything. Damien isn't trying to protect his son from scandal. He's trying to hide his own." Myra looked up, tears burning her cheeks. "But what does he want with the baby?" Adrian's voice turned cold. "Legacy, power, control, and to erase anyone who threatens his image." Myra trembled. "So he'll never stop?" "No," Adrian said. "But now we have a weapon." Keen stepped forward. "Chef, we can leak this. Destroy him. But we need to be smart." Adrian nodded. "We gather evidence. Every document. Every file. Every witness. When we strike, it will end him." Myra wiped her tears, holding her baby close. "Adrian, are you sure? He could kill us for this." Adrian looked at her and the newborn child, small, innocent, breathing softly. And his answer came with deadly certainty. "Then he'll have to try." For the next week, Adrian became a man on a mission, silent, focused, controlled, but beneath the surface boiled a fury hotter than any flame in his kitchen. He spent sleepless nights mapping out Damien's empire, his companies, his board, his investments, his scandals, his enemies, his secrets. Keen used his underground connections to dig up digital files, old emails, deleted footage, medical logs, security reports, NDAs signed by former staff, anything that could bury Damien permanently. Myra remained hidden with the baby, recovering slowly, though nightmares still tormented her. Adrian visited whenever he could, bringing food, checking on her health, and making her laugh through the pain. But one night, she woke to find him sitting silently in the corner of the room, staring at the sleeping baby. "You're not okay," she whispered. Adrian didn't look up. "I'm fine." "No, you're not," she said softly. "You haven't slept in days. You're losing weight. You look like a man carrying the whole world on his back." Adrian exhaled shakily. "Myra, he hurt you. He nearly killed you. He wants to take your child. How do you expect me to rest?" Myra approached him slowly and placed a hand over his. "Adrian, I survived because of you. Don't destroy yourself for me." He finally met her eyes. A storm brewed in them: anger, guilt, fear, protectiveness. "I'm not doing this for just you," he said. "I'm doing it because men like Damien ruin the world without consequence. They walk freely while others live in terror." Myra sat beside him. "But you're one man." "One man can make a monster bleed," Adrian said. And he meant it. Over the next days, Adrian gathered everything he needed. He convinced a former maid from Damien's mansion to speak out. He recovered CCTV footage of the night Myra escaped. He obtained medical files showing the drugs Damien used. And he found a recording of Damien threatening a staff member who discovered his secret. He assembled everything into a single digital folder named The Fall of Damien Okoro. When the last piece finally arrived, an audio recording of Damien admitting to a small mistake with a housegirl, Adrian whispered, "It's time." Like a silent storm, he sent the entire file to every major media house, influencer, blogger, and investigative journalist he trusted. But not anonymously. He attached his name to it. Adrian Cole, chef, protector, witness, moral enemy of a billionaire. Within minutes, news stations began preparing emergency broadcasts. Blogs exploded. Hashtag spiked. Damien's phone began buzzing nonstop. Adrian knew, because he stood right outside Damien's headquarters when the first breaking news alert dropped on dozens of screens inside. The headline hit like a bomb. Breaking: Billionaire Damien Okoro accused of rape, medical cover-ups, child theft, and murder attempts. Within seconds, security panicked. Employees whispered. Damien stormed out of his office, red with rage. "Who did this?" he roared. His assistant stammered. "Sir, it's Chef Adrian Cole." Damien's face twisted in pure hatred. He shoved past his guards and marched outside, only to see Adrian waiting on the other side of the street. The two men locked eyes. Damien hissed, "I'll kill you for this." Adrian smiled coldly. "You won't have the time." And then the police sirens wailed. The officers didn't approach Damien at first. They waited as a crowd gathered, journalists, citizens, staff, everyone staring at the giant who finally looked small. Damien sneered at them, barking at his lawyer. "Fix this, now." But there was nothing to fix. Evidence flooded online. Testimony from former staff surfaced. Accounts poured in from victims who had been silenced. His board members resigned publicly. Brands issued statements cutting ties with him. His bank froze his primary business accounts. His son, Kelvin, fled the country instantly, terrified of being dragged into the scandal. Damien's empire collapsed in real time, minute by minute, second by second, and Adrian watched without saying a word. Then the police stepped forward. "Damien Okoro," the officer boomed. "You are under arrest for sexual assault, coercion, obstruction of justice, kidnapping, attempted murder, and multiple counts of abuse." Damien laughed hysterically. "You can't arrest me. I built this city." "And now you'll watch it forget you," the officer replied. They cuffed him. Damien lunged toward Adrian, spitting. "You think this is over?" Adrian didn't flinch. "It ends today," he said. Damien was dragged into a police truck as cameras flashed everywhere. The moment he disappeared inside, the crowd erupted, not in fear, but in relief. Justice had finally found a man who believed he was untouchable. After the arrest, reporters surrounded Adrian. "Chef Cole, how did you get the evidence? Why risk everything? Are you in love with Myra?" Adrian ignored them all and walked away. He didn't want glory. He wanted peace. That evening, he returned to the apartment. Myra stood at the doorway holding her baby, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Is it true?" she whispered. "Is he really arrested?" Adrian nodded. Myra cried harder, not in fear this time, but in release. Years of pain, terror, and trauma melted from her body. She collapsed into Adrian's arms, sobbing into his chest as the baby slept peacefully between them. "It's over," Adrian whispered, holding her tightly. "He can't hurt you again." Myra looked up at him, eyes full of gratitude and something deeper, something fragile, something hopeful. "Thank you," she whispered, "for saving my life, for saving my son's life." Adrian brushed a tear from her cheek. "You saved yourself," he said softly. "I just helped you finish the fight." Myra smiled weakly. For the first time since Adrian met her, she looked free. With Damien behind bars and the world shifting its attention to his crimes, Adrian finally reopened Cole's Manor. The reopening day was emotional. Crowds cheered. Staff returned with pride. Customers lined up around the block just to support the chef who stood up to power. The story of Adrian and Myra spread across the entire country, becoming a symbol of courage and humanity. Inside a newly renovated section of the restaurant, Adrian built something special. A charity kitchen, open daily, feeding homeless women, single mothers, and children at no cost. He named it Myra's Table. When he showed it to her, Myra cried instantly. "You did this for me." Adrian nodded. "You deserve to be remembered for your strength, not your suffering." Myra held her baby, now chubby and smiling, and whispered, "Thank you." Days turned into weeks. Myra healed. The nightmares faded. She gained weight. She laughed more. She walked freely. The baby, whom she named Audrielle, a mix of her name and Adrian's, grew strong and healthy. One evening, after closing hours, Adrian found her standing on the restaurant balcony watching the sunset. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, just thinking. "About what?" She hesitated, then looked at him with soft, warm eyes. "About how I begged for crumbs the day I walked into your life." Adrian chuckled. "And now?" Myra stepped closer. "Now I have a future." The breeze brushed past them. Silence stretched, gentle and full of unspoken feelings. "Adrian," she whispered, "why did you help me?" "Really?" Adrian inhaled slowly. "Because I saw someone worth fighting for." Myra swallowed. "And now?" Adrian brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Now I see someone worth keeping safe. Someone worth more than I can explain." Myra's eyes glistened. "I don't want to leave," she whispered. "You don't have to," Adrian replied softly. She leaned into him. Adrian wrapped his arms around her and the baby who slept quietly between them. For the first time, they felt like a family, not forced, not broken, but natural formed through pain, loyalty, and healing. Down below, restaurant lights glowed warm and bright, a symbol of new beginnings. And as the last rays of sunlight stretched across Lagos, Myra whispered the words that sealed their journey. "I came begging for crumbs, but you gave me a life." Adrian kissed the top of her head gently. "And I'll keep giving you better." And the story closed not with fear, not with loss, but with hope, because sometimes the most unexpected people walk into our lives at the darkest hour, and what starts as survival becomes destiny.